Yow! Hello YouTube, we're back from our week-long break. So we have Gorehound versus Jim Monolith on Mud. This is round 1. I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm going to be a lot more selective with the videos that I'm going to be producing. We're going to see a turn 1 City of Traders into a Grim Monolith, into Mox Diamond, discarding Wasteland, tapping for 4 mana to cast Lodestone Golem on turn 1. Pass to Fernando. Fernando plays a Swamp. I think he's not on Infect. He is on, I think, almost like a Dead Guy AO list. I think it's Black-White Midrange or Black-White Control, he said. So tap the City of Traders to play another Grim Monolith. Tapping for 3 mana, there's a Tangle Wire. So because of Lodestone Golem's ability, he does not need to pay tax, which is non-artifact spells cost 1 additional to play. Tangle Wire being an artifact remains to be 3 mana. So there's a Wasteland from Fernando, wastelanding away the City of Traders. So Tangle Wire is going to take effect here, so he's going to have to tap 3 cards, which are the Mox Diamond, Lodestone, and the Tangle Wire. He'll pass back to Fernando. The Tangle Wire takes effect, so he has to keep his 1 permanent tapped, and he'll play a Verdant Catacombs and pass the turn. Tangle Wire goes down to 2, so Jim taps the Mox Diamond and the Tangle Wire, plays City of Traders, casts Sphere of Resistance. Not sure why he tapped... Oh no, he tapped the Mox Diamond and the Tangle Wire for Tangle Wire's ability. Fernando plays Verdant Catacombs for turn. Looks like he's just being stacked out here, which is Mud's specialty. So does he not have to tap something for Tangle Wire? I guess he would tap the Tangle Wire itself. Fernando draws Dark Ritual off the top. Let's see if he can get something going. Unfortunately, almost all of his spells are being taxed by 3 additional mana. So he'll just go to game 2 here. Not much Fernando could do. I don't think anything in his hand could be cast anyway. Like the Dark Ritual itself would cost 4 mana. Here we are starting game 2 of Fernando versus James. Looks like James is gonna keep his opening. Fernando's still deciding. Looks like he has a couple Stoneforge Mystics, a Dark Ritual, and a bunch of lands. I'm not sure exactly what his deck is supposed to be doing. I could be wrong. I'm not sure what the third card from the left is. It is white, but I can't really tell what card it is from the picture. So Fernando is mulliganing down to 6 now. You see Thoughtseize, Wasteland. Not sure. Opposition Agent is being bottomed. We see a Liliana of the Veil. I think that is a Dothy Voidwalker and a Stoneforge Mystic as well. So not a bad hand here. Fernando's searching for Swamp. There's a Thoughtseize. Finds Voltaic Key, Grim Monolith, Manifold Key, Sphere of Resistance, Shadow Spear, City of Traders, Urza Saga. I think you can take the Sphere of Resistance or the Grim Monolith here. The keys don't really do much without an artifact to tap or untap. So he's going to take the Sphere. If Fernando can find another source of hand disruption to kind of deal with that Monolith. Oh, but he's going to play it this turn, so I don't think it'll make much difference. There's the Monolith. So I think we're going to see both keys come down. So we can use the 1 extra mana to untap his Monolith. And you can tap it for 3 more. Use 1 of it to untap the Monolith, and then 2 to cast this Shadow Spear. So now he has an untapped Grim Monolith and a Shadow Spear. So James emptying out his hand. Has an Urza Saga City of Traders in hand, it looks like. There's going to be a Wasteland from Fernando. He could Wasteland the Ancient Tomb, cast Dark Ritual into Liliana of the Veil, but that doesn't put him in a very good position. He doesn't have many... He wouldn't have, like, a threat. If he wants to go for... I actually think that might be the best play. If he had a black-white source, he could have played the Stoneforge Mystic this turn and started to threaten something because he knows that James doesn't have much going on in his hand. Like, I think we're aware of the Urza Saga and the City of Traders. So, I think fetching the mono black, like the swamp, was a misplay. Because now this Stoneforge Mystic is just stranded in his hand. So there's a Ancient Tomb off the top for James. So has a ton of mana but nothing to do with it. This gives Fernando a little bit of time. You see, looks like Swords to Plowshares off the top. Attacking for 3 with the Void Walker. So no point in Wastelanding because James has so much mana and just not doing anything with it. There's a Mishra's Bauble off the top. Are we going to crack it this turn? Plays City of Traders as the land. So drawing during Fernando's upkeep. Fernando top decks Torok. Attacks for 3 yet again. James draws for turn. There's a Sphere of Resistance. Looks like the other card might be a Tangle Wire. We're gonna float 2 mana. We're gonna play the Urza Saga, so we have 2 mana floating. 2 mana is gonna be used for this Sphere. No. Yep, okay, so the 2 mana is gonna be used for the Tangle Wire. And now Sphere of Resistance can be cast for free, basically, with this Grim Monolith. So we tapped the Grim Monolith for mana, untapped the Grim Monolith with the Voltaic Key, with one of the extra mana, so he has 2 mana floating still, and then plays the Sphere of Resistance. So Fernando has to tap 4 things here. So he won't be able to attack. So before the Tangle Wire resolves, Fernando wastelands the Urza Saga. Gonna play Verdant Catacombs for turn. This can find a white source. So Tangle Wire takes effects. James taps Tangle Wire, Shadow Spear, Sphere of Resistance. Draws the card for turn, taps for 3 mana, uses 1 to untap, tap Grim Monolith, so he has 5 floating mana. Here is a Mystic Forge. So after Mystic Forge costing 4, he does have 1 floating mana, which is the die on the Ancient Tomb. He's going to activate Mystic Forge to exile the top card of his library. It's like Count of Souls. And it doesn't look like there's another artifact on the top. So using the 1 floating mana, James taps the Manifold Key to untap the Mystic Forge, then activates the Mystic Forge yet again, exiling Ancient Tomb off the top. Ancient Tomb taps for 2 mana, looks like. And then casting Mishra's Bauble off the top. Doesn't look like there's another artifact on the top. Otherwise, I think he would be going bananas. Bananas. James gonna crack the Mishra's Bauble. So Tangle Wire has to take effect here. Fernando needs to tap 3 things. Gonna crack the Verdant Catacombs. So there's Helm of Obedience in there. That's why we see the Dothy Void Walkers. Find a Scrubland. The reason why he didn't fetch for it with the Marsh Flats at the beginning was because he is playing against Mud, which does play... I'm pretty sure James plays the full 4 Wastelands. I don't think there's any reason not to play the full 4. So tapping 3 cards, the 2 lands in the Torok for Tangle Wire. Fernando top decks Scrubland for his turn, so even if James has Wasteland, he still has a source of mana for source of white mana for next turn. James gonna untap here. Tangle Wire will tick down to 2. James will need to tap 2 things, probably the Tangle Wire and the Shadow Spear. It could be the Sphere of Resistance as well. I don't think it really makes a difference. Both of them don't matter if they're tapped or not. James draws for turn. Needs to find a blocker here. So taps Ancient Tomb, goes down to 3. He taps, so that's 2. Then taps Grim Monolith, goes to 5. I'm so confused here. I don't know how much mana he has. He's floating 6. Goes down to 3. Cast Patchwork Automaton. Every time you cast, we love this card, by the way. I think I want a mascot. He's my mascot. He might be my new mascot instead of Banana, but every time you cast an artifact, he gets a +1/+1 counter. He's very significant because he does have Ward 2. Looks like James going to use the last 2 mana here. Or 3. Okay, so you tap Ancient Tomb for 2 mana. You use one of the mana to tap the Voltaic Key to untap the Grim Monolith. So you have 1 floating, then you can tap the Grim Monolith for 3 mana. So you have 4 floating. Then you can use one of the floating mana to go down to 3, use the other key to untap the Grim Monolith once again, tap the Grim Monolith, so you go to 6. Then he spent 3 mana to cast the Patchwork Automaton, so he has 3 mana floating now. James goes down to 1, goes to 5, going to 1, casts another Tangle Wire. Did I do my math wrong? Casts another Mishra's Bauble. Crack the Mishra's Bauble. So that should be exiled with a Void counter on it. And he just passes the turn, so he's at 1. Unless there's a removal spell. Oh, he has to tap down his entire board because there's 2 Tangle Wires now. Okay, so he buys himself a couple turns, I think. Fernando, I'm not sure what he top decked. So James gonna untap all of his stuff except for the Grim Monolith. Tangle Wire goes down to 1 and 3. So 4 things need to be tapped. Not a problem for James. James will draw for turn because the other card was drawn off the bauble. Draws Urza's Saga for turn. So activating the Voltaic Key. Tap for 3 mana. Grim Monolith does tap for 3 mana, right? It's not 4? I thought it was 4 to untap it. What did he... So he's using the 3 mana to equip the Patchwork Automaton. So yeah, it is tap to add 3 mana, 4 to untap it. So he uses the 1 floating from equipping to untap the Grim Monolith, tap for 3, Chalice on 1. Yeah, so he should have 1 floating mana still. But I don't... it's gonna dissolve. So attacking for 5. The Patchwork is a 4/4, and then Shadow Spear gives it +1/+1. So it is a 5/5 with Ward 2. James gets to cheat a little bit with the Mystic Forge. He gets to check the top card of his library at any point in time. So Fernando last turn drew Thoughtseize. So here he has... I think he's going to try to Swords to Plowshare the Patchwork Automaton in response to the Tangle Wire triggers. Oh, there's a Chalice of the Void. He cannot cast it. Okay, so if he can survive long enough, then the Liliana will be able to sacrifice the Patchwork Automaton. There's another Stoneforge Mystic. Not doing much here. I think you just need to keep chipping in with this Dothy Voidwalker. so that his life doesn't become insurmountable. So the MVP right now is this Dothy Voidwalker. But now the Patchwork is going to take over here. The Patchwork and the Urza Saga tokens are going to be taking over. Jim will uptick to 2 on the Urza Saga. Top deck Sphere of Resistance. So we're going to tap the Urza Saga for 1 mana. Looks like we're going to use it to activate Manifold Key to untap the Grim Monolith. Grim Monolith, we're going to tap for 3 more mana. So I think he has 4 floating. Uses 1 of them to untap the Grim Monolith again with the Voltaic Key. So now he can go down to 1 and he casts Metalworker off the top for 4 mana. So he can still cast his Sphere of Resistance in his hand by using the 1 floating mana and the 2 from the Ancient Tomb. And that'll grow the Patchwork as well. So Patchwork Automaton now swinging for 6 damage here. I think it has, or 7 damage. Has 5 +1/+1 counters. It is a 1/1, and then it gets +1/+1 from the Shadow Spear. Main phase 2, James is going to tap the Mystic Forge to exile a Metalworker off the top of his library. And then it looks like he's passing the turn. There's a lot of taxing going on, sorry. Apologies. So I think I think Fernando needs to keep this Torok untapped because he needs to block. Ooh, but now he has a second creature, so Liliana becomes less effective. Looks like we're gonna keep our mana sources tapped. Draw. There's a second Dothy Voidwalker. So Fernando attacks for 3, bringing James down to 4. So James can still tap down the Manifold, or use the Manifold Key to tap down the Torok and swing in for lethal. So that will be the end of the game. James will take it over Fernando in 2. So we got a wonderful display of how taxing Mud can be. Unfortunate that Fernando couldn't cast anything, but congratulations to James, also known as Jim Monolith in our Toronto community. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.